Welcome to Custom Made in New York podcast, reminding women of their worth 1 week at a time. This show is dedicated to all women, custom made especially to win. I'm your host, Raven Joseph. Hi, and welcome back to Custom Made in New York podcast with your host, Raven Joseph. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a hectic week. I, for some time, couldn't even speak because I know that all that would have come out is just anger, frustration, and no solutions. And that's not, what I want to share with you all. With everything that has been going on with the protests in the last week, I wanted to join with my friends, and they had shown me some things on social media, and it kind of discouraged me to get out and protest because I was afraid, honestly. I'm like, I don't want anybody touching me. Like, I don't know, what I would do in response to anyone disrespecting my body, especially the police. So I chose to stay inside. And I know that, with the freedom riders, in our history, they were trained to deal with the disrespect, the blatant disrespect and abuse. I'm not trained for that. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm trained for that. So I tried to find other ways to be supportive of our movement. One of my girlfriends had posted a protest, and I was like, you know what? It's weighing on my heart. I really want to get out there. I really want to protest. I really want to listen. And I did just that. I went to a protest in Mount Vernon. It was extremely organized, far from what I've been seeing on social media. It was just a beautiful experience. It really inspired me. A gentleman, he's an attorney for Rockland County for Black Lives Matter, said this. I want you to listen to this.
Hey, on behalf of the Black Lives Matter organization in Rockland County. As Mayor Howard stated, I'm a civil rights attorney, and I can do a lot of great things with my pen and my mind, but I can do way more with your help. Now you have to come here and consistently tell you need to vote, you need to vote, you need to vote. And all of these police officers that you want held accountable, and you're looking at the TV and you're seeing them murder black people on the street, and you're wondering, why can't they get an indictment? You're wondering why is it that they're not being convicted? You're wondering why they're not being held accountable. Because the police unions are strong and the politicians want to get elected. So we are stronger than the police union. We're not going to get accountability. So legislature reform means that we have the power to hold the police accountable. Because if they want to get reelected, they can't just pull up 2 weeks to our church and say, I'm John Smith, I'm James Smith, and I've been around and I'd like you to vote for me because I'm a Democrat. Fuck your political party. Yeah! I like that! I want to know what you are going to do for our people. Yes, sir! I could have done more for Black Lives Matter and for other clients. It's y'all vote. Okay. It's y'all vote. You determine who are the legislators who make the law that I'm arguing about. Under federal law, there's something called qualified immunity. What that means is if I sue them in federal court, they have a standard called the reasonable officer under those circumstances. What the fuck does that mean? And the person that's going to determine what's reasonable, because we are stacking and not going and serving on juries, are people that don't look like us, that don't understand what we're going through all our incarcerated. And I know you all feel my vote doesn't matter because things are still going to be the same. And I'm telling you that you're wrong. We still got too much work to do. You can't get fatigued. You can't get tired. You need to be re-engaged, reignited, registered to vote. Because one of the things that the president makes a determination on is who's on the Supreme Court. Now, these same cases that I'm fighting, if I want to appeal it and go to the Supreme Court, if the judges on that court were put on that court by somebody that is extremely conservative and doesn't give a fuck about me or you, when we appeal, who do you think wins? We have old judges that are about to pass away and or resign. And we can't afford this crowd in Washington putting two more conservatives. Let me explain to you what that means. Roe versus Wade, and women that have their reproductive rights. That can be overturned. Civil rights legislation, voting rights, all of these things, if they make it to the Supreme Court and you don't have a favorable bench, it gets overturned. Get to the poll. Stop complaining. We gotta do it. All we got is us. There's no vote coming to save us. We will save us.
So we've protested, right? We've protested. As he says in this video, as he says in this clip, nobody's coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. So we protested. We've been standing in the streets for 9 days, 10 days, protesting. The 4 ex-cops who murdered George Floyd are now in police custody. What next? What do we do next? There are still officers who have harmed our people, who are murdered our people, who are still out on the streets, have not been arrested, and we still have to push for that. And we need to continue to protest because we need to continue to be angry. We need to continue to protest. We need to continue this because it is making a difference. So many of us are not employed right now or have more free time than usual because this is a pandemic. Don't let up. When we start going back to work and things like that, don't let up. This is so important. We are making change in just a few days. Whereas I feel like if these protests weren't happening in all 50 states of our country and around the world, there are countries, Paris, right? All these countries that are protesting with us, change wouldn't happen. And the next thing we need to do is show up to vote. As Will said in this clip, right? Voting is so essential. It's our next step. It's how we keep this movement going. We need to make sure we vote because those politicians are the ones who prosecute, right? Think of Amy Cooper, Central Park. She's calling the cops on a black man for asking her to leash her dog. It's just like what happened to Emmett Till. It's just like what happened in Birth of a Nation. This is repeatedly happening, where white women are abusing their white privilege to do harm in our community. So it's really important. I don't understand why that's not considered a hate crime. Even with my students, when we were looking at like the news article, we thought it was a hate crime, right? Because she's using race in this. But she still hasn't been arrested. She did lose her job, but that's not enough. That's really not enough. Like, we can't continue to let this happen. Even the mayor de Blasio has stepped in to say that it was totally uncalled for. There has to be a reason why she's not arrested at this time, and I believe it's because of the people who prosecute. Let that sink in. Like Will said in the clip, it's important for us to join the jury so that there is a fair trial, right? It's a fair trial. It's not a fair trial if we're not sitting there, if we're ignoring those letters that come to our houses telling us that it's our time for jury and we're making excuses. It needs to be a fair trial. We need to be involved. In our I know that everyone knows to vote for a president, but it really, 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 really is important that we start in our local communities. Like every time there's a local election, I am voting, and I'm bringing my dad with me because it does matter. These local elections do matter. Please don't let your friends discourage you to say that, oh, voting doesn't matter. We are powerful in numbers. You hear me? They can't stop us in numbers. We need to show up. And even thinking about my dad and like how I would have to bring him to the poll just to remind him. Think of those elderly people in your community. Help them to get to those polls. Help them to apply for an absentee ballot. Not all of them are savvy with computers and knowing how to do that. It's our job to support them so that they are able to vote, so we are able to get our voices heard. Please don't wait until November. Primaries are now. You're voting for your ADA. The district attorney is the ones responsible for prosecuting these officers that are abusing their power, right? We're responsible for voting for the Senate, the people that draft the legislations, the laws that are passed that protect these officers, right? So that's something that we can do right now. Don't wait till November to the presidential election. Do it now. Primaries are happening now. And don't get discouraged. I know that when we vote, it feels like nothing is happening, but it is our responsibility to make sure that things are happening. And I compare voting to my new garden, right? Like, I've been watching YouTube videos trying to make sure that I acquire this green thumb that my mom had, because like some plants, they last with me, some plants they don't, right? So one of the things that a lady was saying is that when she purchased her tree from the store, she had to change the soil, and she couldn't eat the first fruit that was bare from her tree because it had the pesticides and things like that. Because you know when you see those bright green leaves in the store, it looks so like great and beautiful, but at the same time it's made with soil that has those pesticides and things to keep it looking good. So I compare that to our local government, right? We have to change the soil by voting. And when we change that soil, we can't eat the first fruit that is bared because it may still have the remnants of that old government, right? We have to repeatedly add some positive nutrients, keep voting in every local election, in other words, so that we see that healthy fruit for our community, our healthy community, those people that are really standing for us, right? We're no longer eating from that old government and dealing with what they've had because we've been consistent. We've been voting in every election. And not only voting, we've been participating. Okay? There are organizations that are already doing the work in our communities. Give some time back, whether it's 2 hours a week of community service, 2 hours a month, because some of us have a lot of children, right? We have families to take care of. Have your children do it with you. I have an organization, a nonprofit, Ladies About Community Elevation, for teens, young girls, and that's what we do. Once a month, we work in the community. We give back. Do it as like a girls' afternoon out. It's fun. Do it as a family thing. Once a month, you're helping, because we have to continuously do this. We can't just say, oh, we're off of work, we're protesting now, and then a year from now, we've given up and we don't see any change because we're not consistent. Another thing that we can do to support now is to fill out that census. The census is for funding. It's not to be a peephole in your house to see what you're doing and who you're doing it with. No, it's to count. Every person counts. And this goes to funding, right? There's more to it. It goes deeper in that. And I've always wanted to like invite someone in on the show to really explain what the census is and why it's so important to our community. When I wrote an article in 2017, and when I wrote it, it was my frustration because only 20% of registered voters at the time were voting in local elections in the Bronx. And at this time, the Bronx was the poorest county. I don't know what the statistics are today, but the Bronx was the poorest county. How dare us not turn out and show up for ourselves? It's like a slap in the face. Like, we complain about not being treated fairly. We complain about not having these resources that we need. But at the same time, we're sitting on our asses. Nothing gets done when we sit on our asses. We have to push those local politicians to do the work, and we have to do the work too. I'm not sure what the deadline is for the census, but I know that you should go to census.gov to fill out your census for your home, and you should reach out to the elderly people in your community to see that they have a way to fill this out online or through the mail. Help them do it, because numbers count. Numbers matter. When we vote, we make it so much easier for those who want to do the work, like the attorneys who want to prosecute, right? The people that the officers that are abusing their power, they can't, because we're stuck with politicians or ADAs that don't want to do the work, that don't agree necessarily or don't care about our community like we care about our community. We need to put our people in place to do this. Please consider joining your local community board. So many times, and I think I've said this in the past, I don't know if I've said it or wrote about it, but when I go to the community board meetings, I don't see young people. I see the older generation carrying the torch. But now it's time for us, the younger generation, to really step up and not be about ourselves and our money and our vanity and, just our education and our success, because I truly believe I'm not successful if my community is not successful. And this is why I have this podcast. This is why I have a nonprofit. This is why I educate, because we all need to rise. We all need to rise above the fuckery, the bullshit that we're in, and we can. Our ancestors have been doing it for us, and now it's our turn. I'm going to read for you before I sign off something one of my sisters posted. Andromeda from She Wins. She's the founder of She Wins Society. So it says, Black people have nothing to prove. Our strength has been proven. Our resilience has been proven. Our intelligence has been proven. Our creativity has been proven. Our desire to work and earn money for our families has been proven. Our ability to build wealth for ourselves has been proven. Our ability to raise our children to become valuable members of society has been proven. Our love and respect for all people has been proven. Our giving hearts and forgiving nature has been proven. Our favor from God has been proven. If you are still unable to see our value, it is not us, it's you. So remember, see your value, see the value in yourself. Don't feel discouraged. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, like, you are valuable, you are the shit. Because we are. Like, we really, really are. And I did hear something that someone says, all lives don't matter until Black lives matter. And so that really hit me, like, what was being said and what that meant, and it just pushed me to, like, keep going. Because a couple of days ago, before I went to that protest, I was all over the place, like, emotionally, like, it was just crazy. I have not felt, and I couldn't check myself. That was a weird part, and that's why I didn't record the podcast, because I'm talking to myself and I'm trying to make myself feel better, but I still didn't feel right. I felt like so much rage, and I've never felt like that before. And I don't remember when's the last time. I was asking myself, like, when's the last time I felt like this? What did I do? And I couldn't recall feeling that angry ever. So just remember, we are valuable. We are needed. We built this country. And please go out and vote. Find out when your primary elections are. Make sure that you are reaching out to your family members to remind them to vote, remind them to fill out the census, fill it out with them if you need to, or find resources to help them do so. We need to vote. We need to get together and continue to protest. And I am so proud of us. I really, really, really am. I'm so proud of us. I can't wait to see the fruits that we are going to bear from this, right? Because I know this is going to work this time. I know it in my heart that it's going to work. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. Take care.